Welcome to lesson number 7 of Capture and Convert. Congratulations, you have built a lead magnet marketing funnel. It's out in the world, and I commend you for that. It's an amazing tool to use, and especially in today's day and age. It's a wonderful way of reaching new people and helping bring them into the world of what you do. Now, this lesson is really important because one thing you're going to learn using lead magnets is that there's some tweaking that's going to take place over time to get these things to work even better. So this lesson's called Track, Measure, and Make It Better. So what we want to think about, as everything is in business, is what are we learning and how are we using that to go back and evolve what we're doing? You're going to have ahas through this process, and I'm going to point you to the metrics you need to be looking at to understand whether your marketing funnel is working or not. Now, of course, if it's not getting sales, we know it's not working, but there are often some things that are happening along the way that may not be either. And you're just not going to know until you have it out in the world and you get some real data. So just know that this is part of the process. So this is where the magic happens. And I got to say, the best converting sequences come from a lot of trial and error. I mean, this is what it takes. So and then you know this. You know what it's like being a business owner. Think about how much you have changed and evolved over the length of time you've been a business owner. You just get better and better over time. And anything that you're willing to put that effort and energy into, you can cultivate new skills and make it even better. So once you have people actually working their way through your sequence, you can start to measure it. And armed with that information, you can make data-driven changes to the sequence. And here the key is data. What you haven't had at all at this point is data. You've made up everything at this point by making some really good, educated guesses about what's going to work. We just don't know yet, and we need to see how the market reacts, and it's that data that tells us what changes to make. So I noted that this goal, this is going to sound really silly, but it's do more of what works and do less of what doesn't. All right, let's bring it into play. So here's some things we want to be measuring. First thing, landing page conversions. So what we're talking about here is of all the people who visit and see your landing page, what % of them convert? Meaning they provide their email and they opt in. An average rate is about 2.3%, which means that the majority of people that come to the page just aren't going to convert. However, in the top 25%, it's around 5.3. In the top 10%, it's 11.45. So recognize that as you improve and as you get better at understanding your market and what they really want, this number is going to get better. It will. I promise you that. So pay close attention to how the market reacts to your landing page and start to optimize for those conversions. Now, email open rate is another measurement we need to be looking at. So across all industries, across all emails, the average open rate is 21.3%. For welcome emails, it's 50% plus. So we talked about this throughout the course that when you're using these drip campaigns and when you're using a lead magnet to kick them off, you're going to get higher open rates because people have opted in and they're expressing specific, explicit interest in what you're giving them. So monitor this because you want to get a sense of how many people open not only the first email, but how many after that. And I will tell you, when we look at ours, we do see some trailing off. So the open rates for that welcome email will be the highest, and then the next email, it'll trail off a little, and then the next email, it trails off a little. You lose people. That's part of the process. So just know some of that's going to happen. It won't be the same number for every single email as you work your way through the funnel. And by the way, think about what a funnel looks like. So always remind yourself of that. You will lose people along the way. They do not all make it to the purchase, and you know that. Now, the email click-through rate is another thing we need to pay attention to. And what this means is not only did they open your email, but they actually clicked on the button or the link that you've driven them to. An average click-through rate across all emails, all industries, is about 2.6%. But with a welcome email, it tends to be about 15% or higher. Now, you may find, and we've certainly found, that click-through rate is a lot higher. And again, these are averages across lots of industries. We found that when we're really giving them something of value, they are opening that thing and they are clicking on that thing. So you may find it exceeds that, and that will be good. And the last piece of this is sales conversions, because of course, what's the intent? It's to continue sending content to eventually get them to the point of making a purchase. So across all email, there's an average of 1% or less conversions to sales. But in these targeted campaigns, like what you've just created, the conversion rates bump up. They can be anywhere from 2 to 7%. And there are some industries where it's actually higher, and especially when they're using like targeted discounts. So like in the retail business where you've seen like a big sale, you'll notice that many times those will generate higher results. So these are here just it's for informational purposes. But I don't want you to fiercely judge yourself about where it racks and stacks with it. The measure is really going to be you against you. So it's going to be, as you get started, seeing what's happening and then using that to make shifts and changes so that you can get better results versus where you were before. Recognize the difference? You're your competition. The rest of these averages are not, okay? So what if your lead magnet isn't working? The problem typically comes down to one of two things, or both may be at play. The first thing is people aren't seeing it. Now, I know I beat this like a dead horse in the last lesson, but if people are not seeing it, you have a traffic problem, which means you need more eyes on it. So the only way to do that is to promote it more frequently, to share it in new places, and to boost the exposure to new audiences with paid ads. You starting to get a picture of why this is so important? We need eyes on it. And think about again the way that marketing funnel works. It's big and wide at the top because lots of people are going to come in that awareness phase, but we lose people over time. They don't all come to purchase. God, I wish they did. I mean, I wish 100% of the people that served up an ad of Hatch Tribes became customers. That would be amazing. That just isn't reality. So we need lots of eyes because we know we lose people over time. Now, the other piece is if people aren't downloading it. And this means that you have a conversion problem. And here the situation really is about the landing page. We may not have a good, enticing landing page or a lead magnet that's making people want to take action. So here what you may need to do is test new headlines, change up the copy, try new images. And I also encourage you to use A/B testing. And A/B testing is where you run two different versions of the same general thing. They're trying to get to the same result, but they look different. They potentially have different headlines or different images, and we see which performs better. And that's going to tell us which one to use, right? So another option here is that it may not be converting to sales. So maybe we're getting people to opt in, maybe they're clicking and they're going through it, but it's not converting to a sale at the end of the funnel. So here what we need to do is review the open and click-through rates for each individual email. And what we really want to be looking for is where subscribers are trailing off. Now, let me point you to something that's kind of interesting here. Over time, you will see in your entire funnel, people trail off as the emails go along. That's normal. But the key is if we're getting a pretty significant trail off, it typically means that the email they last opened didn't resonate. Does that make sense? So let's just assume that email 1, they open. Email 2, a few less open, but they've engaged. By email 3, you have a giant drop off. Is email 3 the problem? Probably not. It was actually email 2, right? It's going to be whatever they saw last that's going to dictate whether they open what comes next. You dig me? So note where the trail off is happening. Now, then we want to make some tweaks, and there's lots of things we can tweak and test. One is the lead magnet itself. It might not be sexy enough. It might not be valuable enough. It might not be something your audience even gives a flying flip about. Then we need to create a new one. The content of each email is also at play. So if you notice in this prior example that I was giving, if by email 3 we noticed a giant drop off, I may need to go back and rework email 2 and really think about the value I'm delivering there to try to retain them into that next email. Now, the timing of emails can also be played with. You know, in the example that I gave you in the way you built your funnel, you're sending 5 emails in a row and then 2 later on that are spaced 3 days apart. You can change that. We've also played with shortening up series. Instead of doing 7, we have some funnels that run at 5. And we play with that just to see what's going to get better results. Now, also, another thing you can do is just play with the order of the emails. So here, and again, I just want to say, you can A/B test all of this. So don't scrap it and just redo the first one. Copy it and create another version so that you can test them all. But the order of the emails can be also played with. So maybe instead of what's coming in email 3 happening in 3, it happens in 2, or you move what was in 4 up to 2. Do you feel me? And I can't say enough about this last point. Also notice how you're pitching your product or service. You know, the key here, and we've talked about this numerous times in the course, is just being very clear. As a sales process, we really want to talk about the benefits because that's the only thing our customers care about. They don't really care what package it comes in. What they care about is what the result's going to be for them. What are they getting out of it? What do they want? What matters to them? What problem are you solving for them? How are you helping them? Speak in that language, and that's generally going to connect. Okay, a few pro tips here. So the first thing, I want you to create multiple lead magnet marketing funnels for your business. Now, in this course, you've created one. You've got one and it's up and running. And dude, I can't say enough that's a huge thing to have done. And I congratulate you for it. And you don't have to step out, immediately and go create a new one. But in the life cycle of your business, you're going to, because these are really valuable and meaningful ways to do online marketing. And the more you have running, the more you're going to see what's working. Because remember, they're not competing against one another. They're competing in many cases for the different audience, right? Different people, different audience, a different target for that product or service. As we talked about before, A/B testing on landing pages, I think is really a cool part of this. It's fun. Build 2 different pieces of creative and see which one gets better conversions. Because I got to tell you, that's going to feel good. I mean, if one of them's getting 50% more conversions, peace out to the first one, you're using the second one. That's a win. And I love A/B testing. It's exciting. You can also change the offer. So remember how we started this by saying, what's the product or service you're focusing on for selling? Sometimes that offer just is not connecting. It's not making sense, or somehow something just doesn't work. So go back and really think strategically about what it is that you sell. Can you try pitching something else instead? Now, of course, all the emails need to link together, so this may mean reworking the entire funnel a bit. As we talked about before, you can change the flow of the emails over timing, length of time, number of emails, etc. Now, one thing that is kind of cool, one of the things you can do with ads, whether you're using social media or Google ads, is remarket to them. Because remember, everybody that comes to this opt-in page can be tracked using a pixel. And that pixel allows you to then remarket to them later on when they're cruising around the internet, when they're on their social media. Remarketing ads are great because they may not have opted in, but that doesn't mean that they're necessarily not interested in what you're doing. They may have just said, like, I don't want this thing, but they're still open to you or open to your business. So remarketing ads are kind of fun. Now, I encourage you just experiment, play with it, have some fun with it. This is not ever an exercise of perfection or getting it right. It's just iterative. It's a really fun marketing strategy that you can play with, that you can experiment with. You can see what works and try things on. And the key is, we just want to uncover what unlocks your ideal customer and their own journey. That's it. So I just encourage you, embrace the mindset of just experimentation. you have nothing to lose here. You're not going to screw this up in a way that's so colossal that anything's going to really hurt you. So you can create different versions, try new images, try new text, create different lead magnets, and do that. Because truly, lead magnet marketing funnels are a fantastic way of marketing and growing your business. And so you're going to get extraordinary results if you can put in that time and energy. All right, take action. So you got to work on these things weekly. This isn't one of those things that you create and never touch again. And you know the reason why. It's because we want to change it and evolve it and tweak it and make it better. So the first piece of this is I highly recommend scheduling time on your calendar to work on it each week. And initially, the time needs to be spent on promoting and marketing because, as you know, that's mission one. We got to get as many eyes on it as possible. But after we've got that thing in play and we've got a good bit of marketing running, now the key is we want to track it, measure it, and make it better. As we talked about before, it's doing more of what works and less of what doesn't. So that's it. That's what you got to do. It's going to evolve. It's going to change. You are going to get even better at using this strategy in your business the more that you play with it and experiment and see what works and what's really connecting with your ideal customers and clients. So that's it. We're here. You've done it. Congratulations on completing this course, and I wish you well in growing your business. Cheers.